This is a clip from the Cannon podcast. To hear the full episode and get access to exclusive benefits, head over to patreon.com/thecannonpod and sign up for just £3 a month.
Let's talk about someone that, may be here next season or may not be here. Charlie Patino. His future is a massive doubt. Now, all the big, reporters, David Ornstein, Fabrizio Romano said he's leaving after the summer. I think his contract expires now next window. I think he's on like a 1-year contract extension or something like that at least. It looks like he's leaving, but there's been a lot of quiet over that. I don't know if he's back at Arsenal right now, if he's training. He's not going to pre-season tour. So, Alex, what's happening with Charlie Patino? What do we do now?
I think it's probably best for him if he leaves. If you look at what's happened with our midfield and look at the questions that we're having and look who's just signed and all that sort of stuff, I think it's best for him. I do hear, for example, I've seen a few people online saying a Rice Erdegaard Patino midfield is like a dream, like it's unbelievable. I think George can probably speak more to the profile, but I just want to talk a little bit about development just in general of young people, really. I think something that is maybe overstated or misunderstood is that if a young player isn't put into the first team, there's this idea that, they're not good enough. I think it's rarely the case once you get to this point. Once you've made a first team appearance, even the likes of like Ben Cottrell and Miguel Aziz, I'm sure Arteta probably thinks they are good enough, on some level. He probably has certain thoughts about, things they can improve or whatever, but these are young guys, what footballer isn't going to improve as long as you've got the attitude. But actually, I think it's about loads of other things. It could be many different things. Timing is so important in development. I think Saka, the likes of Saka and Cole and Fabregas were always going to make it because of the talent that they had. Saka started out at left back. Like at some point you have certain players who are just, it doesn't matter what time it is, they're so good. But for the majority of footballers who make it, there's an opportunity. Smith Rowe is a perfect example. 26th of December, Boxing Day, we desperately needed something. Smith Rowe was the perfect profile, came on, speeded up the game, and we loved him and won the game, right? Probably saved, some people say saved Arteta's career. So, wonder if he reminds him about that in the future. Look, there's a timing element to it. I think Patino, possibly, another time 2 years ago, could have been someone who came in and is in Arsenal's midfield now and has had 2 years of experience. As it is, he comes through at this point. We've got a bit more of a packed midfield. We've got Thomas Partey. We don't quite need him. We've got the time. Loans, has he gone out on the right time? Also, something Mikel said about January is, I really need to learn that name. Wanyeri. Something Mikel said about Wanyeri is he said, I wasn't actually planning on giving him his debut, but I looked him in the eye and I saw something and I thought, yeah, you're ready. That's it. So literally, if Wanyeri hadn't gone, you're all right, and looked at him, he wouldn't have had his debut. So it's like, it's just chance, isn't it? It's like, he just saw him and like went, yeah, you're ready. You've also got to understand that you can have the talent, you could have the right time, you could have the right, character or whatever, or the right agent or the right conversation or the right moment or be the exact right profile. Again, this is another thing, profile could be wrong. Someone like Brooke Norton-Cuffy, is he quite right for Arsenal? Probably not, but is he a talent? Yeah, he's a great talent. Probably isn't right for us, but in a 3-5-2 or a 5-3-2, I think he's brilliant. So, but then there's also the final thing is, not to sound like Roy Keane, mentality. It's simply a case of you are stepping out into the most brutal, hostile sporting environment, possibly, certainly in world football, in the Premier League, in terms of the eyeballs on you. Like the amount of people scrutinizing your every single move, every single touch. And these guys are teenagers. I'm not a footballer, right? Obviously, nowhere near it. But if I saw like 3 bad comments when I was like 18, I'd have like cried. Do you know what I mean? I'm just not built for it. But these guys have to withstand like reams and reams and reams and reams of abuse. And some people just aren't cut out for that. And they need to build up to it. And that's another thing too. So there's so many other things that go into development. There's a million different reasons why Charlie Patino might not be in our first team, might not have worked out for us. I think in terms of business sense, we should do a buyback clause. But also just, the final thing I'll say is like fans who are like, well, he's clearly not good enough. I just don't buy. He's made his debut. It's just not the right time. He's not the right profile. It's not the right fit right now. And he can go away and make his career somewhere else and maybe come back to us one day.
he is now 19 years of age, turning 20 this year. So in terms of age profile, that's very similar to Romeo Lavia, who Arsenal could spend £50 million on. So as he says that he probably is ready at this stage. And with the departure of Granit Xhaka and the arrival of Kai Havertz, now we talked about Havertz maybe not being a natural number 8, maybe more of a number 10 or a diamond, or maybe a secondary striker. There is a space there for a 6'8" profile that I think Patino has, right? And instead of spending maybe £40 million and then let go of Partey, is it better that Arsenal keep a Thomas Partey and keep a Charlie Patino and have him involved in the first team next season, George?
You know who I'm looking at is Jorginho in terms of more of the type of midfielder. Like, you're looking at, what is Charlie Patino? He is that tempo setting 6'8", who's got phenomenal defensive instincts. I don't think he is as quick across the ground as some people think. I do think that's a very limiting factor, by the way. But when you have a look at it, he's got a brilliant picture. Like, he is a player that true head on a swivel, scans constantly, knows what to do, has more time on the ball than anybody else. He dictates from a different level. And as you say, I think that there's a gap in the squad, ironically, for his profile. We don't have somebody quite like him, but we do have somebody coming up that could potentially be better, and that's Miles Lewis-Skelly, who's going on preseason, and Patino's not. I think that's a huge part to play here, if I'm really being honest with you. And by the way, buying another 6'8" when you've already bought £100 million 6'8" doesn't exactly scream, we trust you, Charlie. And in that case, I agree with kind of Arsenal's perspective where, listen, go out and play. Like, I agree that he is ready. I think that he is the Premier League standard. And by the way, Coffee, maybe Brighton would be interested in something like that, as a make weight for a certain Ecuadorian, in terms of slotting him in for an extra 10, 12, 15 million pounds, inserting a buyback. I'd love that. I don't know if they'd agree to it. You'd ideally, if you're Arsenal, want a buyback. You want first refusal at minimum. And of course, you want some sell-on clauses for a talent. But look, when you look at the academy in the manner that we're producing talent, you're not going to keep everybody, and you're not going to keep talents that are incredible. Okay, we're not talking about a talent that's producing 1 or 2 times or 1 or 2 players, a year. We're producing 3 to 4 genuine first-team quality players, guys. And that's ridiculous. Only really Chelsea could really boast that in England right now. And we know that they don't use their talents, but. Fundamentally, for me, Charlie Patino is somebody that is a Premier League standard player. Beyond that, he's an international standard player. I think that he will go on to play for the English national team. Do I think, though, that he, again, is better than Miles? When I look at what we have at home right now coming up, there was a decision that had to be made, in my opinion, between Patino and Miles. And I think Miles won that little civil war, but it doesn't mean that, Charlie Patino is a poor player. And like I said, I think I would do a first refusal at minimum here. If you're not going to do a buyback, definitely a first refusal on him and let him play. Like I said, I think Brighton, I think a Crystal Palace, a Burnley, even with Company. And I know Burnley gets the odd rack, but I think the way that Company plays, he would suit Burnley phenomenally well. He is just somebody that is ready to play, fundamentally, for sure.
Thanks for checking out the Cannon Podcast. To get full episodes and access to exclusive benefits, head over to patreon.com/thecannonpod and sign up for just £3 a month.